I'm so proud that we get to have Lexi Adsit be with us this evening. She uses she, her pronouns. She's a femme translatina who was born and raised in Oakland, California. She holds a master's in ethnic studies from San Francisco State University, and she also has a bachelor's in women's and gender studies. She's worked for over a decade for transgender equity and liberation through different organizations like Peacock Rebellion, TAJA's Coalition, and now TransCanWork. If you are not familiar with Peacock Rebellion and TAJA's Coalition, super important that you go check those out. I will type that in the group chat so that you can go check it out. And obviously, Lexi is here to share about TransCanWork. One of the things that I want to say about my interaction with Lexi is that it's very clear in talking with her that you quickly realize that she's fiercely committed to really empowering people and sharing with them not only her experience, but her expertise, and how this type of work that she's doing really marries her expert competencies, her as lived experience, and also the passion to be of service to her community. So without further ado, Lexi, go right ahead.
Oh my gosh, thank you. That was such a beautiful introduction. And I just want to thank you all for being here first off. I told Isabel when we were initially talking about this is kind of a full circle moment for me, as PFLAG was one of the first spaces that I took my parents to after coming out as trans like 14 years ago. It's really lovely to see you all here, know that you're coming with an open mind, learning, being supportive, allies, etc. Um, just to preface, I don't want to scare anybody. So this, I will be sharing a couple of stats about trans people experiences in the workplace. It is a lot of the data that we get is not super up to date. So these are more, how do I say it? Like points in time. You can think of them as little time capsules. And I will say that, like, I think things are getting a lot better. Just in my 32 years of life, I can tell you that I think things are a lot easier in the workplace, especially for younger folks now than they were. Obviously, you have a lot of resources in this group. So I know other people are, I'm sure, always willing to share their experiences. Um, but yeah, I just want to make sure, just want to preface that so that y'all aren't scared. All right. So trans can work. We are economically empowering and employing the TGI community. So TGI for us stands for transgender, gender diverse, and intersex. And this is my team. This is also a little out of date. So we've actually grown since then, but most of these folks, or all of these folks actually, are still with us as well. Um, our mission and vision, to economically empower and employ TGI people in the workforce, ensure long-term cultural change within workspaces, and provide accessible pathways to meaningful employment. So we envision a world where TGI people can thrive in the workplace, where TGI people are leading the way in innovation across numerous fields, and where all workers are empowered and employed in safe and supportive work. And so these are just some of the stats I was talking about. But um, there's disproportionate earnings. So at similar or higher education levels, cisgender people take home 32% higher wages than their trans counterparts. Greater TGI inclusion would potentially mean a boost to annual consumer spending by $12 billion per year. Workplace discrimination, the National Center for Trans Equality in 2015 found that more than 75% of trans people nationally have experienced some kind of workplace discrimination or harassment, and that more than 25% of transgender people have lost a job due to bias. But we're also seeing we're right in the middle of a very prominent workforce change. COVID had a significant impact as well, but by 2025, millennials will represent 75% of the workforce and are twice as likely to be LGBTQ. And in 2020, there was a landmark Supreme Court case, Bostock versus Clayton County, which clarified federal law prohibits anti-transgender discrimination in employment. So that's a really that was a really important moment that kind of got brushed over in 2020 due to everything else going on in the world. But if you're interested, definitely an awesome court case to look up. So this is our approach. I'll start with job seeker services over here. We work with TGI people one-on-one to prepare them to either re-enter or enter the workforce for the very first time. We put that theory into action by organizing a lot of hiring events, allowing our job seekers to go out and try and interview, apply to as many jobs as possible, get training or educational um, edu- educational opportunities in case they're looking for career change. And then all of that also feeds into our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging training with employers. So we're really trying to create change within the workplace at all levels. And so this is just some of the things we do with our diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging training. So we do learning labs where staff can get comfortable with culture shifts and change. We do annual programming such as around Trans Day of Visibility, Trans Day of Remembrance. Obviously, Pride is a huge one. And then we also do consultations. So project-specific consultations such as around human resources for companies. I, for example, I just hopped on a call with a employer that we work with who one of their employees was having a hard time finding a gender affirming doctor. And so we don't have like an official resource list of gender affirming or culturally competent doctors in the Southern California region, but we know enough about, kind of who's doing what, where some of our clients go, that we were able to make some recommendations. And then data and surveys, so collecting and sharing anonymous data on staff's mindsets, looking at really belonging and workplace safety psychology. So we do give our employers ratings. So your gold tier if you've completed a training with us and you have policies in place to create a supportive work environment for your TGI employees. Your silver tier, if you haven't done training with us but have received some sort of TGI specific training, and there are some TGI supportive policies in place. And then bronze tier is we really don't know if you've received any training or you haven't done training with us, as well as we don't know or you don't have TGI supportive policies in place. And so our job seeker services just in depth, so one-on-one support with a TGI employment navigator, custom employment roadmaps, collaborative resume building, cover letter writing, upskilling, including free training and internships, mentorship and coaching opportunities, hiring events such as virtual career fairs, the employer ratings, which I just shared, jobs boards specifically for trans folks, mock interviews and workshops and other resources. And this is out of date, so we don't, these dates are not correct, but if you go to our website, transcanwork.org, you can stay up to date with our current career fairs as well as our schedule for next year, which we are still working out. But we use Brazen, which is a virtual career fair technology. And so it allows text based chats as well as one-on-one video interviews. So it's very similar to going to an in-person career fair, which I'm sure some of you might remember from back in the day, where you could go speak to somebody at a booth, ask them questions about the workplace, give them your resume, have them ask questions about your work history or your interest in working there, and then, even fill out a job application. Um, and we also recently, we're still ironing it out, but we have a collaboration with Bullhorn, which is a CRM or customer relationship management software. Um, Not my strong suit, but basically, it is a database that we use with all of our contacts and that allow us to easily kind of pair our job seekers and their interests with open jobs that we know of or that are sent to us specifically from our employer partners. And our reach and engagement. So, motivated TGI job seekers on our exclusive jobs board, 10,000 subscribers to our job seeker newsletter with a 35% open rate, 5,000 plus social media subscribers, and a lot of people engage directly with our clients through Q&As, workshops, coaching, and more. And so we were founded in 2016. And so our impact so far is 2,000 plus workplace partners engaged, 3,000 plus gender diverse clients engaged, 1,500 plus gender diverse clients who have received direct support from us, and 400 gender diverse clients placed directly into employment, and 500 employers who have received DEIMB training. And then this is a deck that we typically use when we're first talking to somebody, so it goes into pricing. But uh, that's kind of it in a nutshell. So we always like to say, join us. You can donate, train, hire, and transform. And that is TransCanWork in a nutshell. But I'm, yeah, super happy to, I love to kind of engage with folks. So any and all questions, I'm also happy to talk about things outside of TransCanWork as a trans woman, my experience with college or transition. Um, I know we have a lot of different approaches and experiences in the room tonight. So, however, I can be resourceful.
There's a question that's just come up in the chat asking, do you find that certain industries like the tech industry are more resisting to hiring transgender candidates?
We've actually found that tech is one of tend to be more progressive in hiring trans folks than other fields. So, I think part of that has to do with in tech, there's not as many front-facing roles. A lot of our clients are really interested in tech because they don't have to engage with people, and so I think for a lot of folks that feels safer. Um, and I think for a lot of the tech companies, they're more concerned with what can you do in terms of coding or what do you bring that kind of give us an edge versus who you are. And uh, we did see a large wave of like DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion departments being developed in tech kind of first. Um, and that's kind of shifted. Most of them have been absorbed into human resources, but tech yeah, it continues to be a pretty progressive industry, I would say.
Thank you.
Lexi, I have a question. Do you, I'm sure you cater mainly to those who are career oriented and looking for a job in whatever particular area they are. But do you cater at all or have any programs for instance, college students who want a part-time job or high school students who would like to have something and maybe develop some skills and do some things as they continue?
Yeah, we don't right now. It is something that we're looking into as we're growing. Um, I did not found the organization, but when it was founded back in 2016, by Michaela Mendelson, she's a trans woman, also business owner. She, I think, was really focused on the adult population. And we are, I will say, we're wanting to meet the needs of everybody in our community. There are a little bit more uh, obstacles to working with minors in workforce development and generally in social services. But I am hoping that in the next few years we will have like programming for both of those pools.
Lexi, can you speak a little bit to, I know one of the questions that I often get from um, people is, if I'm going to seek out employment, does all my official paperwork need to match? And also kind of in parallel to that, what is it that I need to disclose, or do I need to disclose anything? Like, what is your take based on the vast experience that you have with the adult TGI community?
Yeah, so it really depends on the individual. Some people disclose right at the beginning, or like for me, for example, when I submit my resume, there are places that have the word trans in it. So I can't really uh escape from that necessarily, or not disclose it. Um, there isn't any requirement until you're actually filling out your onboarding paperwork where you have to have like your legal name, your social security, etc. A lot of people have begun to include pronouns on their resumes, and so that's been a really great way of, even, whether you're trans or not, just kind of sharing your pronouns and kind of how you're preferring people to refer to you. Um, but yeah, at least for like resumes and interviews, it's totally up to the individual. And typically HR departments, it's not unusual for somebody to have a nickname or another name that they go by that's not their legal name. And just for an example, like my legal name is Alexis, but Lexi is like the shortened version of that. And that's what I use like publicly. So.
Thank you. That's helpful.
There's another question in the chat. Do you have any advice on applying to colleges as a trans person? Or do you know of any trans supportive universities that might be useful to apply to?
Yeah. Advice on applying to colleges. It's been a long time since I applied to undergrad, so it's I'll try and think of advice for that. But generally you're you're like one applicant in thousands. And um honestly, I think I would say in most California universities, they're looking still at diversity gender diversity, ethnic diversity, etc., as um, something positive. And so I'm personally a big fan of the CSU and UC system, especially in California. A lot of them have LGBTQ offices, student groups. Some even have queer fraternities or sororities, if that's something you'd be interested in. Um, I would definitely say don't apply to schools in Florida, but looking at out of state schools is there's a lot of really great out of state schools, and so it just kind of depends on what kind of education you're looking for, and I think yeah, what you're interested in.
Thanks, Lexi. We also just dropped in the chat, Frank actually dropped in the chat the top 10 trans-friendly colleges and universities. And that comes from the same, Frank and I had a mind meld here where CampusPrideIndex.org rates colleges all over the country as far as LGBTQIA plus inclusion, the population, the activities, like campus life. It's very informative in terms of even comparing different schools within the same state. And so that is definitely something that you'll want to check out. I think that's a good place to start for sure. Any other questions for Lexi or for the type of work that TransCanWork does or is helpful with? The other question that I had for you, Lexi, is in terms of the population that you support is really nationwide. It's not just California centric. It's all over, right?
Yes and no. So we're currently only funded to work in California, which is something that we're working towards, because we do get requests for services from folks, a lot of folks actually, from out of state. We also work with companies who are looking to be inclusive outside of California. Uh, so that's something that we are working towards being a more national organization. But as of right now, we're still located in West Hollywood in the same building as the trans chorus that Catherine runs, and um, the majority of our clients are in the Southern California region.
Fantastic. Okay, that's helpful. Catherine, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a question that alluded to this that came up, is there any problems in certain industries such as IT? Are there any places that you would suggest steering away from? I don't mean to be totally negative, but I think it's important that we know the positive and the negatives when we're looking at those kinds of things. And is there any particular either industry or area or anything you've seen that, you should stay away from? I mean, you mentioned colleges, Florida, Texas are probably not the best place to go for our community, but I just wonder if there are any job issues that might be negative that you know of.
Yeah, the one that we've kind of seen, or at least that I've seen, have the most hesitation to change culturally has definitely been construction, which I don't think that's a huge surprise, kind of given the nature of it. Um, there's been it's even been hard for like women to get into construction, and so I think when we're talking about like trans folks, it's been kind of even harder. We've even been dissuaded from working jobs in construction, or I think that would probably also apply to some of the more um technical trades like electrician or plumbing. Um uh so those are definitely some of the ones. And then generally we've seen some companies adopt this kind of like colorblind, gender blind policy where they're like, oh, anything that's personal is like personal outside of the workplace. And I just, as somebody who can't really take off my identities when I walk into an office, that's not really a workplace that feels very inclusive to me or feels that I could bring my whole self to. So we do, when we talk to our job seekers, we let them know like what is important for you in a workplace, somewhere you're going to be spending on, generally 40 hours of your week. These are people who might become friends or close family, or you know, a workplace can be a really large part of your life. And so trying to figure out like the values that you want in a workplace before uh, agreeing to work somewhere can be really helpful.
That's super helpful. Thank you. Um, there's a couple of questions in the chat. In regards to the clients that you support, what are some of the most common issues that you find them coming across as they enter the workforce?
Yeah, so I like to say we kind of have three uh average client profiles. So we get the most common person who comes to us is somebody who didn't finish college, generally has a high school degree, but didn't really get a lot of familial support. And so then really was focused on their transition at a young age, maybe working like retail or Starbucks. And now they're looking to try and figure out like how to have a career, maybe getting into a different looking to switch fields. The second most common is somebody who actually comes to us with an advanced degree, maybe a master's in like chemistry or neuroscience, and they're looking for a company that is safe, that is kind of got that seal of approval on TGI inclusion. And the kind of least common, but we do get it, are folks who transitioned much later in life, who are middle-aged or older, they're usually like C-suite execs, who, either left their company to transition or are looking to switch to a new company uh, because they want to be able to live out and have their full selves at work. Um, so those are, each of them have their own like unique obstacles, but I will say something that can't really be replaced is familial support, and that it really has such an impact on um people's abilities to have a career at a younger age. I think, and I can just speak for myself, that like I think my parents really enforced and taught in me um trying to understand the value of a dollar, the value of work, and how it all kind of fits into life after high school and after college. And where we have a lot of those discussions with some of our clients, and it's it's just developmental.
Thank you for saying that, Lexi. I think one of the things also that that families encounter is really getting getting flat with the fact that when a person is either exploring or transitioning or in a state of either turmoil, or it takes away from your availability to either learn, concentrate, and it also can then create a path that's going to be different in terms of timeline. And sometimes as parents, we'll have the inclination of, let's follow the path, let's just keep on the path because that's going to be the safe way to do it, and let's just do that. And there's really so many routes that can be taken, and timelines are relative to each person, and therefore sometimes it's a not finishing college, not going to college, or struggling to do so, and then doing a comeback, or choosing a trade, or choosing something different, a different route. And I think it's important to, without it being worrisome, kind of normalizing that that's actually something that's happening for many people. And so it's a difficult time for anyone to be choosing a career or going to school and going to college, let alone if you're, exploring your gender and really seeking to be who you actually are. So I want to bring that up because we often get that question, or that sense of insecurity from families of, it needs to be in this amount of time, or it's too late. And it's never too late to be who you are, or to do the work that really lights you up. There's a way. So. Oh, we have a question here. Do you publish a list of your gold and silver awarded companies?
We used to. If you go to our website, TransCanWork.org, you can see a list of our trained partners under our employer services. Which, yeah, there's a lot there. So yes, we aren't doing I believe we're renovating our rankings, so the gold, silver, and tier, or gold, silver, and bronze aren't there, but you can see who we've worked with generally.
And would you suggest, Lexi, that going through the resources on your website is something that, say, for example, someone has specific qualifications and sees that there's an employer on there that's, that's a gold rated company, really kind of seeking them out and saying that they saw their information on your website, or simply going directly to them to apply for work? Is that something that is also part of the service that you provide, or that you encourage people to do if they can do it on their own?
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of those companies are really excited when they hear from our clients. And so that is absolutely something that we encourage.
Thank you. Lexi, what's your top advice in terms of someone who's seeking to really follow the type of work that they would like to do, but they don't really know where to get started? Like, what's your words, share your pearls of wisdom?
Yeah, I mean, I think we live in such a unique age now where you can go to YouTube and watch somebody do their this is my day in the life of a rocket scientist or whatever. I think additionally something that my parents taught me to do, but I think a lot of people don't do as much anymore, are asking for informational interviews. Just going to somebody and being like, hey, I'm interested in the work that you do. Can I buy you a coffee and just kind of ask you questions about how you got there? what you do, how it works. I'm interested in X, Y, or Z, and most people will happily take you up on it. And uh, I think also just having the confidence to be yourself. And a lot of people in the workplace can often smell out like if you're not being authentic, and having that authenticity is just can go a long way towards making sure that you're somebody that earns the trust of your team. Um, yeah, I'll leave it there.
Those are excellent though. And did you say you're in your second tip, did you say informational interview or
Yeah,
formal interview? Informational, yeah. Okay. That's what I
informational interview. Yeah.
yeah. Well, thank you so much, Lexi, for joining us this evening. We're so happy not only that we got to have you live on Zoom to be able to join us, but also to be able to share the work that you do. And definitely some of us may not have been as familiar with your organization. So definitely go check out the website, transcanwork.org. And really, we look forward to all the great work and the supportive work that you do for the TGI community, and to get more and more employers as part of the, trained and silver and gold awarded companies to work for. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Oh,
thanks. Oh,
Catherine, did you have one last thing? Yes. Just
Sorry, I have trouble unmuting here. Thanks, Lexi, for sharing the information with us and letting us know. And thank you to TransCanWork for all the great work you do in being a very positive, presenting a very positive image of the trans community to the broader community. It's really phenomenal, all the work you all do. So thank you.
well, thanks so much for having me. It's been great to meet you all. Obviously, please go check out our website. I'll also drop my email in the chat in case you have any questions that you want to follow up on. And yeah, it's been wonderful to spend my night with y'all.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Lexi. We really appreciate you so very much.